this session as well. Yeah, and then the floor is yours. You can start. I don't know if you want to share something.
I'm like a mega introvert, so I apologize. I'm Dennis Osborn, and I'm the creator of Vision Basic. I guess I'm gonna share my screen or share. Let's see. I'm gonna try to share. I'm gonna go from screen to screen, so you can see it now.
Yes, you run. Yes. Should I run?
Okay, let's see. Oh, pause. Okay. Okay. I don't know how much everybody knows here about Vision Basic, so I'm going to go over some things and show some programs that some have probably seen, but perhaps others have not. I didn't really have enough time to put something together super extravagant, so I apologize for that. I do kind of have ideas for cool things, and I'm like, I want to try to top what I do, but I've been very busy with like a lot of stuff all at once. So I'm going to go over some of the older stuff first. And I'm going to try to run the demo from one of my videos. And we're going to warp this because it's a pretty long file. And okay. Now this is a lot of these are just bitmap examples in this video, this segment here. And I'm going to try to talk and show this stuff. So this is just background imagery for you. I started working on Vision Basic about over 20 years ago because I was simply getting frustrated with BASIC and the basic extensions, compilers, and machine language. Pretty much all of it. I was just frustrated because as a programmer, I wanted everything to just be easier. And, I really do not like programming in pure machine language. So, I love BASIC, but it's just clunky to try to get what you want with all the different tools available. So, now Vision Basic is a basic compiler, but it has its own commands and syntax. So it won't necessarily compile an existing basic program without some modification. It has some limitations, but it makes up for those limitations in many ways. One limitation is that math expressions are calculated strictly left to right, and parentheses cannot be used to change that order of operation. And math expressions cannot be used as parameters. I'll do more with this in a minute. But what you gain is speed, first and foremost. And you gain a bunch of new commands for graphics and sound. And there are also commands that can help even set up interrupts, for example. Vision Basic also allows you to type machine language instructions right next to the basic commands. I'm going to go advance through this a little bit. This is just an example of being able to change your plotting colors, and as long as the what happens is when it you can have it set the colors for the whole screen, and then you can change them, and if you do change the colors, it'll write over the existing colors, and it'll draw a little bit slower. But this is something that Simon's Basic does, so I pretty much just copied the idea over, but it allows you to you could draw 3 different colors here and 3 different colors there and whatever. It's just flexibility, so that's kind of cool. But since I saw it in Simon's Basic, I'm like, oh, I want that for Vision Basic too. So and then the next part is just showing the relative speed of bitmap line drawing. And then we have a vertical line drawing command that actually is much faster because it's it's just easier to draw a vertical line. It's a separate routine though. And then the horizontal one is the fastest, as you can see here. And then I also have this color pattern. And then I'll just get through the demo. And this is just an example of, how fast the routines are, especially with horizontal. This is a bitmap drawing right here. And this is a pattern, as you can see, filling. It's using horizontal lines. That's one of the major features of Vision Basic and Bitmap. I don't think Bitmap gets a lot of use, but I think some people have said that they wanted it for that reason. So I'd like to see what they do with it. And then the next, I'm gonna just try to get through this quicker because I don't want to eat up everybody's time here. And then if you pre-calculate the vertices of like 3D objects, you can do stuff. Let's see if it'll go to, yeah. You can do 3D stuff. This is pretty quick, but it's pre-calculated vertices. I mean, if you're going to calculate them on the fly, it's obviously going to be slower. And I don't remember the keep. I think was it return? I don't know. It may go on to the next thing or not. I don't know. But you can also use an REU to clear the screen, and there you go. If you use an REU to clear the screen, it's much faster. So I don't know if you guys notice the difference, but this is slower and this is faster. And then I think the final stretch of the video, or not video, program here. This is this. Oh, okay. That's a glitch. Now, I don't know exactly why this happens on this. This is interrupts. It would happen when I'm trying to show everybody. I think there's a snag somewhere up in here that's getting snagged or something. Let's see. Let's move on. There's something going on. Okay, I'm gonna try that again. The idea behind that, let me skip through all these. This is just warp mode. And okay, oops, unwarp it. This is just an example that you can set up interrupts. And this is showing 64 sprites all at once. It seems that when I have to figure out what's wrong with the program, what happens is sometimes when I run it a second time, it does that. That is a glitch, and that is something I will try to look into, but I don't seem to have any other issues with interrupts. I think maybe it's just the sheer fact that it's trying to do a whole lot here. Okay, and that's okay. So we're going to exit that. Now going on to more about my creation of Vision Basic. I've tried creating my own programming languages and tools before, but one of the biggest problems I faced was a lack of memory. And if you want your editor and the programs you create with it to both reside in memory at the same time, that seriously limits both the editor and the programs you create with it in size. So Vision Basic requires either an REU or a super CPU with extra RAM in it, at least 256K either way. But the programs you create with Vision Basic do not need the expanded memory intact after you compile them out to disk. So you can share your programs with other people and they don't need the REU. So that's one of the things I wanted to make sure, when creating this language, it's like, well, it does require the REU or the expanded memory, but not when you give your program away, that you make with it. One thing that I am looking into, I know a lot of people have GeoRAM and NeoRAM. I'm trying to look into expanding into utilizing that memory, but that's for future update, and it's something I'm currently looking at right now and trying to test in my spare time, because most of the time I work on videos and such. Okay, and as for the extra commands that Vision Basic provides, I'd say that a lot of my influence comes from Simon's Basic, but Vision Basic's commands are often fairly different. The goal I had was to create enough commands to where a person wouldn't necessarily have to poke any of the various registers for sprites, sound, and bitmap. So, I mean, you could still poke them, you could do whatever you want, but the idea is if a person does not want to, poke, peek, and or and all that other garbage, as you would in Basic, you have dedicated commands to set up a bitmap screen or, move sprites about and stuff like that. I just wanted to make sure that almost every register, you wouldn't have to poke it necessarily. The exception obviously could be like the text screen, if you I mean, there are commands for relocating text and whatnot, but anyways, that was my goal with it initially. Now who would benefit from Vision Basic? Now I've seen, I watched a interesting thing going on in a forum, and you have people who are like, like, oh, that's beneath me kind of thing. Pretty much anyone who loves a program in Basic would benefit from it. And I mean, you're going to have to know Basic first anyways. And if you know some machine language, you're going to enjoy it even more. But for the person who loves to program exclusively in machine language, I don't think they're going to enjoy it as much. I mean, it does double as an assembler. And its syntax is, it's kind of like this. You type a line, and then you start out with a bracket that tells that you're entering machine language mode or assembly mode, and then you just type, like this, and then you use a colon, and then you could do that, and you could just keep doing, and then you could just like leave a comment here and border or something like that. It's different, but it's, I like being able to cram more on the screen myself so I could see more. I don't really care much for the vertical format of assembly language, so I never cared for it. It just, I don't know. Okay, moving on. I really haven't had much time to truly enjoy my creation because I've been busy with videos and everything. I created it mainly for myself. And then, kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I could, give it to the world kind of thing. But I really have not had much of a chance to enjoy it like I, truly, first envisioned. I've only really created one finished game with it called Herald, and I pretty sure some people may have seen it. Let me see. I'm going to switch to that. I hope I do this right. Okay. Let's go on to the next. Let's see, share. Okay. And here is Harold, and some people, again, I don't know who's seen it and who hasn't seen it. It's not like a game, like it's a Pac-Man clone basically with some key differences, but I mean, I personally think it's kind of impressive for things that compared to things I've done in the past, but it's definitely not on the level of, some more modern things. A lot of, I think somebody was asking, well, can you do a platform kind of thing and all that? And I just haven't had the time for it. Of course, if I had the time, Vision Basic can let me do pretty much anything I would ever conceivably want to do with it, because, well, I'll explain. Basically, you can mix, like I said, you can mix Basic and machine language, together. So it's like, well, if something's not fast enough, or you need, a little more speed, put some machine language in there. I mean, just demonstrate. I'm sure people have seen this, but I'll say press the button. Okay. Oh, it's on pause. Sorry. Had every screen paused because I had it all set up last night. Okay, so 1 or 2 players, 1 player, level of difficulty 1. And I mean, this just shows what, I think a lot of people just, especially basic programmers, just want to make simple games, like they don't necessarily want to, I mean, some of them probably have grand visions, and it is going to still take work. Oops. But basically, this is once the cat eats the catnip. I don't know if everybody can hear me, but if when the cat eats the catnip, it kind of emboldens him so he can eat the mice. But yeah, let me stop it because it's annoying me with the noise. Okay. But anyways, a lot of people who program in Basic, they program in Basic because that's what they know and that's what they like. And some of them don't necessarily have the grandest of visions. If they do, I mean, Basic is just sorely lacking. You're not going to make Sonic the Hedgehog or anything like that with it. Now Vision Basic would, to make something like Sonic or something like it would obviously require some machine language. And I do provide in my videos some code to show people how to accomplish certain things in machine language so that they don't necessarily have to use machine language and, themselves. They'd be like, okay, I'll just copy the routine and use it in my own program. So that's one of the benefits with Vision Basic, is that you can share what I call user defined commands. You just take a segment of code, save it to disk, and you can load it in to be used in another program. Quite easily, actually. The Vision Basic has different banks set up so that you can load a command set into, something that somebody else created. Like I have some scroll routines or a scroll routine, and you could load that into a separate bank and just you already have a program existing. You load the scroll routine into a separate bank, and then it's just easy to use that way. Okay. Let's see. Okay, now I do have a contest going on where I hope to see some of the creations from some of my buyers. I've only seen one project so far. I launched Vision Basic in May, and I had one guy. He's pretty much wrapped up a Wordle clone, and I'm going to try to promote that as soon as I can. But anyways, the programming contest wraps up at the end of August of this year. So details for that contest can be found at visionbasic.fun. Now, I don't run that website myself. That is run by somebody that helped me out with my presentation at T-Bug. So I'll just type it here for quick reference. .fun, and that is his website, and he's handling all the contest related things. And then of course my website is visionbasic.net, and I would love to buy visionbasic.com, but it's like $3,000, and I just don't have that kind of cash laying around to, there's no point in it. It's not worth, I'm not making that much from it. Okay, now, so what is the best way to program in Vision Basic? Typically, I start out using what I would call the normal commands in Vision Basic, sprite and sound and all that, and just all the commands that make Vision Basic easier. And now, even though Vision Basic is a compiled basic, there is a lot of overhead going on, despite my best efforts to get as much speed out of things as possible. You can't really have versatility without overhead. So, generally speaking, it's faster than, say, Blitz, but, each command has to fetch a parameter that it doesn't know what kind of parameter it is. It kind of does, but it doesn't. It's like it has to come upon it and go, oh, that's a value, or that's a variable, or that's an array, or, and it's, the method I try to access those parameters is as quick as I can make it, but it's still overhead. It's still a lot of, interpreting going on as a program is run. So you start out with the normal commands, and then if you see that things are not quite as fast as you would like, you can move on to the speedy math commands, because generally a lot of the slowdown is going to be with math, and comparisons and such. So there are some commands that are like almost, they get converted to direct machine language, but they often occupy more space in the source code and also more memory once compiled. So it's not like, if you don't need to use those, don't, and then when you do, just switch over to them. It's just easier for me to look at my program and go, okay, I'm using the regular if thens and all that, and then but it's running a little sluggish here and there, so I'll switch over to I have a thing called a double compare. It's output in direct machine language, and I also have some addition and subtraction commands and things like that. So basically you get it where you want it. It's working, but it's a little sluggish. So you're like, okay, I'm going to convert some of this here and there. The code, it won't look as pretty or as easy to decipher, but it's some of it's actually quite simple, really. Now I'm not in Vision Basic right now, but if you were to, if you had X equals X plus 1, some of it is just as simple as put the word add in front of it. And then that will tell Vision Basic to convert it into pure machine language instead of using the routines that have the overhead. So that's why I added those commands. Okay, I'm going to go over to, now this is wait, hold on. I'll stop sharing that screen. And move over to this one. Again, I don't know who's seen what. This is just a game that I had been working on. I don't really ever plan to finish it like 100%. It's more for demo purposes. I don't, maybe you don't see it yet. Hold on. Let's see, share. Okay, there. Now some people may have seen it, some may not have. And let's get it running here. And this shows that, with clever programming and stuff, you can accomplish a lot. And also this involves smooth scrolling. So I provide a routine that pretty much anybody can add into their programs and use it for their own games. So, in one of my videos, I kind of explain the best way to program, because really, when a lot of people make games like this, they usually use machine language, and typically it's kind of required because, you got a lot going on here. But one of the things that, I learned in programming though, is that, like, see the enemy ships here, they don't necessarily have to be making decisions, all the time. They only need to make decisions like, maybe every few screen refreshes. They don't have to be, trying to assess the situation immediately. It's just overkill. So that's what's going on here. A lot of these ships, despite only making intelligent decisions every few screen refreshes, it's enough to be lethal. And I'm not really doing much here, but anyways, so that is one of the game things I plan to revisit this one more time. Mostly, I think just to add some sound or something to it. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a finished thing out of it. It's more demonstrative. And we'll get out of that one. Okay, I don't have much more in the way of notes, so I'm going to have to wing it from here on. Let's see. Stop sharing that one. And I got like, let's see. Hope that's, is that the one or? Okay. And let's see, share this one. It's funny because I could see my screen. I could see the screen and you guys are like, what's going on? Okay. Now I'm going to show the demo I showed at TPUG. I would like to actually do an improved version of this thing, but I just, like I said, I didn't have enough time to get something ready for y'all. So I apologize for that. Really, one of the things I've been working on is a cheaper manual. It's a paperback version. So it's going to be considerably cheaper for people. Let me get this moving here. Okay. Basically what this does here is it draws on the bitmap screen and then it converts it over to sprites. But basically what this just shows is what's possible. I mean, this isn't like, oh, if you're a beginner programmer, you're going to be like, I don't know how to do that, so obviously it's going to take some learning and some things, but the idea here is that this doesn't really use, I tried to do as much basic as I could with this. There's only like there might be like some very tiny instances of some machine assembly language, but essentially this actually accomplishes most of what, most everything here with basic. It's just also written clever enough to be able to accomplish it. So, but this basically just moves. It's drawing about 20, it's displaying about 20 sprites. So it's moving the 8 sprites down the screen in order to recreate more sprites. So, but this is what I showed at TPUG. And I would like to do something a little bit more impressive than this, but like I said, I didn't have the time. So I do apologize for that. I don't know how long I've been talking. Let's see. I don't know how much more time I have. I think everybody's kind of gone over a little bit.
No, that's okay. Maybe we can go to the. Well, I don't know if you have more to.
Well, I had a little bit more to show. I have a little bit more to show, but I'm gonna kind of just go through it quickly. I tried to create something for this. Try to create something for this specifically, for this Zoom specifically, and it's just kind of shows, you know, kind of like differences and, you know, how a program can evolve. Now this is a program I've written just regular basic, and I try to create something that would move as fast as it can move in regular basic. It's loading an array right now. Hopefully it will. I want to warp it, but I want to give you I don't want to give you the impression that it's faster than it is. Okay. Oops. Okay. Basically here you have all 8 sprites on the screen in a regular basic program, and they're all basically, they're going to bounce around the screen. But they're all trying to detect each other and make sure that, oh, if I, you know, bump into one of the other ones, it's like, well, you want to bounce off of it. So yeah, this is basic. I mean, this is, you know, what people who program in basic are kind of stuck with. You know, they're like, wow, that's awesome. You know, and you can move them like, you know, 2 pixels at a time or whatever, but that's still not going to fix this. So let me get, let's run stop. Okay. And okay, now I do have a Blitz, Blitz version, C/ and all of that one. Now this is compiled with Blitz, same program, compiled with Blitz, and I used to use Blitz a lot. And again, it's just like, well, okay, you know, it's not what you want it to be, you know. It's like, okay, well, you know, and I used to use Blitz for a lot of things, and this is what I would run into. It's like, well, not quite fast enough. Now you can you know, add a machine language routine here and there to kind of speed things up, but that's very clunky. It's very laborious. I mean, it's just not very fun to do that kind of stuff. You still have some lag and some error, you know, like, oh, I got to load the machine language into memory and whatnot. So then I'm gonna have to go back to the other editor for the other ones. And then I'm just going to exit out of this one. And then now, and I don't really have a lot of time to show you everything about Vision Basic, but you guys can view the videos. But anyhow, so I'm like, okay, let's just load, I decided to load the program into Vision Basic and just kind of convert it, just a straight up conversion. Oops. And without any speed up. And here it is. And now if you remember what the Blitz version looked like, you can see this one should be faster than that one. But obviously, like I said, you when you program it, you're like, it needs to be a little faster, right? One of the main reasons for that being that speed has to do with arrays. Arrays generally are your slowest variable type. So I find ways to avoid them where possible. So
you're not sharing at the moment.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Oh, I haven't. Oh gosh, I apologize for that. You didn't. So no, you didn't gotta see anything. Okay.
No, we saw the two. So I think you showed the first version of the moving boxes there, box bouncers.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, like I said, I get
confused. And then the
like,
second
wow,
one,
I see it.
The second one as well. No. It's just now that you changed to something else. Then that.
Yeah, let me reload that. Okay, I apologize. Dang.
But while you reload, maybe I have just an on-the-fly question, because there I saw on the disk that you had, for example, 2 versions, and then the one that is called box box bounces or box bouncer that was, yeah, there. So the first one is 5.
Yeah, this is actual
The
basic.
5 size is lower when you use
The basic.
the Vision Basic.
Well, no, this
version.
is, well, no, I mean, this top one is just regular basic.
Yeah.
And then this is Blitz here, the 27.
Oh, yes.
Um,
Okay.
and that's what a lot of, compilers do, is they tend to tack on code. Now, Vision Basic is no different. It actually does tack on a decent amount of code, but it also makes up for that by opening up the RAM under the basic ROM. So, as long as you're able to load, have like a fast loader and stuff, or you just go get a cup of coffee while something loads, it's, I don't know. But the source code here, this one here, this is the Vision Basic version. It's actually slightly smaller because it has a sprite command, and regular basic does not. So there are some things that make the source code smaller. Now the compiled program is going to be kind of like, Blitz is going to be bigger. It's going to be blown up because of the support routines. And I apologize. I'm going to run the demo. I'll run this one more time just to show you. And it should be noticed. I'm sorry, it should be noticeably faster than the Blitz version, but not really, it's still not like, I like that, and like I said, the problem is the arrays that it uses. So, I decided to eliminate the arrays. There's a way of doing that. You just basically just transfer values and then send them to a routine, and the transfer, the manual transfer is a lot quicker than using arrays. And then you end up with something like this here once it compiles. And see, this is significantly faster than the previous one. Again, nothing to go, run home and tell your mom about, but the idea is that as you keep going on, you're just like, well, I can tweak something here and do something here, and you learn the different techniques. But the point is that if you're going to have certain parts of a game, or say a menu or different things like that, you don't need to focus on speed. You need to focus on whatever needs to be faster. So then you start using the alternate methods and commands to bring about some speed. And I do actually have some things planned for a future version that'll even make a lot of things easier, because I realize that there is some you do have to go through the code and go, I got to change this and that. So but I do have 2 final versions. I'm going to skip 3 or 4. Oops. Oh, I bet I need to stop that. I'm just going to recompile the, sorry. Okay, run this one. Now this one is pretty much the fastest I can get it. Now I did use one machine language trick. I created a routine which can actually be shared with anybody. So basically the person's like, well, I have these XY coordinates for every sprite, and you just plug it right into the routine. You could just be like XY, 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 XY. It's real simple. So they don't have to necessarily know the machine language. They just have to know where to plug in the the X and Y values. But this is pretty much the fastest that these boxes are going to move, even in machine language, because otherwise you're, if you try to move them faster, you're going to be moving them more than once per screen refresh, which, that's not really, you're basically moving them 2 at a time, or 2 spaces at a time or something like that. So this is 1 at a time, and you could change the program to move them 2 at a time for more impressive speeds. But now the border is just showing me how much time is left, cycle wise. This is free cycles that are like doing nothing. So essentially it accomplishes the task in the amount of time necessary. And then finally, just for fun, let's see, big bouncer. I decided I wanted to do like big giant blocks just for the heck of it, make it a little more crowded. Let's see, and I think I'm just going to pretty much leave it on this. There you go. A little more fun. I mean, kind of a little more fun because they're all bumping into each other. So I guess that kind of concludes everything. I do want to, before I hand over everything, I want to say that for a full week starting today, I do have a coupon code for those who'd like to buy Vision Basic at my website, visionbasic.net. The coupon code, and I'll type it, I guess, before I leave, or I'll share it with you. It's the word special, and then 15 followed by the %, and then off. So I'll share that. Well, I guess I could just type it now. Special 15% off, and that's off of any package I have. And that concludes it. I don't know how long that took. I apologize if they're going over. But there you go.
No, that's fine. Perfect. Thanks a lot. I'm looking now on Facebook if there are any questions. I don't see. I don't know if anybody in the call here have any questions.
I don't know. I'm wondering if some people have attended the TPUG meeting or not. I'm trying to see if there are any faces I remember. Because I did do one with TPUG at TPUG, Toronto based.
No, but then maybe I have a few questions. So do you have a list of comments somewhere? Is it on the website?
No, somebody actually, you'd have to look it up. I don't have it on hand. Somebody did post kind of a cheat sheet of sorts. It's not something I really wanted out there because of, piracy and whatnot. But it's
but you have an idea how many commands there are?
This thing, I mean, Vision Basic adds over 100 new commands.
Okay.
And like I said, I do plan to add some more, as long as Vision Basic takes up like almost all the memory though. So adding more stuff to it is going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah, that's why you need the RAM expansion unit. I think on the website today you said you need at least 256K, but on the website I think you recommend 512, right?
Yeah, because it limits the size of some things.
Yeah. So you said as well you started in May, or you released it in May?
I released it in May. I started this project in like 1997. And took off like 10 years because I was trying to raise my son. I just didn't have the time for it anymore. He just kept me super busy. So, but that's actually a blessing because it actually is better, I think, than it would have been.
Yeah. But so since May, how many users do you have? Do you have already like a little community of?
Sort of. It's somewhere between 100 and 200. I mean, it's not a free program. It's just way too much work for me to just do this for free. I would just be like, I mean, it doesn't pay that great either, but it's just way too much work for me. I mean, I'd just rather be doing something else with my time, using it for myself, for example. But it's just a little, it's not a whole lot of money. It's definitely not anything like minimum wage or anything like that's really small. When you take all the time I put into it. And it's not a hot seller, it's not like, oh, everybody's got to have it. But if I'm going to keep investing my time into it, it kind of helps to have that just a little bit of help there, something that urge me on. And then, hearing people tell me their stories and stuff. So
yeah, it's also motivating, I guess.
Huh?
It's also motivating, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are different things that motivate me, but it's one of those things that's very difficult because, you have the negatives, you have the positives, you have I work on this project pretty much every minute I can. It's like, okay, I work my regular job, which doesn't pay well. And then I come home and then, I spend time with my wife. And then it's like, okay, after she's gone to bed, it's like, okay, jump on it, and so, I make videos and different things. So it's just, it's a lot of work. It really is. But
then I think you mentioned you're also using a Ultimate 60, or at least I have seen that on the website. So it works on the Ultimate. And did you ever tested it on, for example, the Mega 65?
The what?
The Mega 65.
The Amiga 65. No, I have not tested.
The Mega, not Amiga, Mega, MEGA 65. This.
Oh wait, that's what, a Mac version?
No, that's just
it's
a kind of.
I haven't heard of that. That's an emulator, though, right? Is that an emulator?
It's not really emulated. I think that's a kind of new hardware, new 8-bit computer that was
Okay,
supposed to be
well,
like
maybe I'm
the
confused.
Commodore 65, but it's a new version of the Commodore 65.
Oh, you're
done
talking
by,
about the Mega? Oh, Mega
yeah,
65.
exactly, Mega 65. Yes.
Well, I haven't tested on that. I tried ordering one. I had like saved up for years, like a bunch of birthday money and stuff, and I tried ordering one, and they haven't really responded. So I haven't really been able to test it on that. I do think there's an emulator I could test it on.
Yes,
So
indeed.
that's something.
You can download the emulator. Yes, but you
So,
you never heard of your users having tested it on that one.
well, I haven't really. I don't think anybody's mentioned the Mega 65. I mean, they've mentioned it, but they want me to make a version for the Mega 65. And the problem with the idea of doing ports right now is just the time. I just don't have the time for it. I'd rather keep improving Vision Basic itself to have a final version before I do a port to any other computer. So as far as working on the Mega 65 as it is, I would gamble and say it probably should, but I have not tested it. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's all for my questions. I'm looking now on Facebook. No more questions. I don't know if amongst the attendees here, is there anybody who has another question? I don't think so. So I will stop the recording now.